unveils largest agro drive in sub-Saharan Africa.
Benue security nabs suspects in deadly Yawata attack.
Senate urges customs to hit 10 trillion target.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss technical and vocational education in Nigeria.
Once a major backbone of Nigeria's education system, technical and vocational education and training is making a much-needed comeback. Back in the colonial and early post-independence days, it played a key role in producing skilled workers. But from the 1980s, interest and investment in vocational training dropped sharply. Many technical schools shut down, and the country was left with fewer trained artisans to meet growing demands.
Now there's a fresh push to bring it back to life. A new national policy is shaking things up by offering monthly stipends of 45,000 naira to trainees. Just one of the several incentives designed to draw, if you like, more people back to vocational technical education. And this is a continuation of our conversation on this issue last Wednesday. We had some guests with us, Professor Idris Bugaje, Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, who believes that this initiative could open the door to millions of jobs and cut Nigeria's reliance on foreign technicians.
Yeah, you're right, Yenre. Also, Dr. Ahmed Bolaji Nagode, Director General, National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, NAPTIN, and Dr. Nabila Dati Mohamed Agwai, Technical Assistant to the Minister of Education, were also on the program. They indicate that this renewed attention is focusing on practical areas like electrical installations, solar PV systems, and meter installation fields that are critical to the country's infrastructure. They added that the electrical sector in particular is plagued by poor workmanship and loose regulation. They believe if Nigeria wants a safer, more efficient industry, then strict standards and proper training are non-negotiable.
Actually, now Professor Bugaje's ambition is to position Nigeria as a regional hub for training in the West African power sector, with cutting-edge tools, up-to-date curricula, and hands-on industry training. The aim is to make vocational education just as respected and essential as a university degree, because if Nigeria wants to build a future-ready workforce, technical and vocational education must be front and center.
True. Must be in front and center. So we've got another lineup of guests joining us today to speak more on technical and vocational education in Nigeria. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, our second episode of the week. I am Ademola Adir. Really glad you are here with us.
And I'm Henry John. I also welcome you to the program reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. Newspaper review will come up shortly, but that will be after the news with Tessie Omeri. Tessie, good morning to you.
Hello, Ian. Good morning. And Demola, good morning. Nigerians, here is the morning news. Nigeria launches the largest agricultural mechanization in sub-Saharan Africa. Additional 500 hectares of land will be built under cultivation.
Allocation of this equipment throughout the country. We do a lot to give our nations abundant arable land and favorable climate that we have.
And Nigeria is hosting 50 African countries at the 4th African Union MSME Forum aimed at addressing challenges affecting small businesses, particularly affordable financing, enhancing digital transformation, and improving market access. Vice President Kashim Shettima at the event calls for intra-Africa trade and support the growth of small businesses of the continent. Nigeria is adopting a multifaceted approach to combating poverty and food security, which are negatively impacting national security. Minister of Defense Muhammad Badaru Abubakar stated this at the 14th National Security Seminar organized by the Alumni Association of the National Defense College in collaboration with the Office of the National Security Advisor and the National Defense College, Abuja. And on legislation, Speaker of the House of Representatives Abbas Tajuddin has condemned the suicide bombing in Konduga, Borno State, and another explosion in Kano over the weekend, which led to loss of lives. Speaker Abbas, in a statement, decried the rising spate of attacks and deaths from different incidents around the country in recent times, while charging security and intelligence agencies to be on alert at all times. The Speaker also urged relevant humanitarian agencies to cater for the victims and their families, while praying for the repose of the souls of the deceased. Senate has tasked the Nigerian Customs Service to work towards achieving collection of 10 trillion naira revenue in 2025. This amount represents 30% increase in the year's target of 6.5 trillion naira. These and other issues dominated the financial performance assessment engagement between management of the service and the oversighting committees in the Senate and House of Representatives. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested the former Chief Financial Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) Limited, Umar Ajia Isa. Umar Ajia Isa was arrested in connection with alleged $7.2 billion fraud linked with the rehabilitation of the Kaduna, Warri, and Port Harcourt refineries. A reliable source within the commission equally confirmed that the former managing director of Warri Refinery, Jimo Olasukami, is also in the custody of the commission. Ajia, as CFO, was in charge of release of funds for the turnaround maintenance of the 3 refineries. And all the key officials involved in the maintenance and other key projects are being investigated for alleged abuse of office, corruption, diversion of funds, and kickbacks from contractors. Other officials allegedly involved are Tunde Bakari, MD, Warri Refinery, Ahmed Adamu Diko, former MD, Port Harcourt Refinery, and Ibrahim Monde Onoja, former MD, Port Harcourt Refinery. Talking security, the Joint Security Services in Benue State has announced the arrest of suspects linked to recent attacks in the Yelwata area of the state, where several persons were killed. The Commissioner of Police in Benue State, Ifeanyi Emanari, announced the arrest at a press briefing at the Government House, Makudi. And now that Nigeria is attracting positive interests from investors and the rest of the global community, we must do whatever we can do to promote the image of the country, starting with ending the surge of violence in some parts of the country. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, stated this while reacting to the violent attacks in Benue and Plateau states on the margins of the 2025 second quarter high-level meeting with state governors, wives, and RHI state coordinators in her office. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to the safety of all residents and to maintaining Abuja's reputation as one of the most secure capitals in the world. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, in a statement, categorically reaffirmed that Abuja remains safe for citizens, residents, and visitors alike. He said the federal government of Nigeria has taken note of the latest security advisory issued by the Embassy of the United States, restricting its staff and their families from non-official travel to military sites or other government facilities in the Federal Capital Territory. Effective management of radiation emergencies and minimizing exposure is taking center stage at an International Atomic Energy Agency capacity building training underway in Nigeria. The regional training focuses on the safe application of nuclear and radiation-based technologies.
To provide 6 names of people that we think that they can be expert, that will be moving from one country to another, training other African countries on radiation emergency and preparing a response.
And that's the morning news. Good morning, Nigeria continues with Ian Ray and Ademola after this break. Do stay with us.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in color, with undying demand, we make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Education is unique, we are more than the solution.
We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strength and unity, we know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance rice bran oil is rich in gamma-oryzanol. Several studies suggest that gamma-oryzanol may contribute to the reduction of bad cholesterol. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil. Good food, no worries.
Hey Nigeria, ready to breathe cleaner air and save money? Let's talk about gas. Drive with CNG, the smart, cost-effective choice. Fill up for less and travel further. Save money, save the planet. Switch to LPG for cooking. It's cleaner, healthier, and better for environment. Say goodbye to smoke and eye problems. Do you know Nigeria is a gas nation ranked 9th globally with over 209 trillion cubic feet of gas reserve? Gas isn't just for cooking and driving. It powers industries too. Cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. And the best part, conversion centers are popping up everywhere. It's never been easier to switch to gas. Join the cleaner energy revolution. Choose LPG for cooking and CNG for your vehicles. Clean energy for brighter future. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, supported by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA.
The world needs mums. With a splash of Golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra oil, for pure love.
Have you heard the news? The federal government of Nigeria, through its direct benefit transfer program, has started the disbursement of 75,000 naira per household in 3 installments of 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 naira. Each recipient must have a validated national identification number, NIN, to receive the payment on behalf of their household members. To benefit, your household must be in the National Social Register of Poor and Vulnerable Households in Nigeria. The federal government's direct benefit transfer program is helping to reduce the effect of suffering while promoting financial and economic inclusion for the poor and vulnerable population in Nigeria.
Ìjọba fún wa ní 75,000. NIN mi àti káàdì ìlàsílẹ̀ ọgbà. Nígbà tí mo sì gbà, mo ń fi ṣe nǹkan tó dáa, mo ra oògùn nínú rẹ̀. Mo ra oúnjẹ tí màá jẹ nínú rẹ̀. ó sì wọ́n ọkọ mi náà ń bẹ̀ a sì fi yòókù ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ ajé pé káàtó máa rí dé bá a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba wa òkè.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, in collaboration with the National Social Investment Programs Agency, National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office, and the National Cash Transfer Office.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during interment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. Let's now take a look at today's papers.
Well, our newspaper reviewer is here, Chooks.
Demola, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Yeah, Ray.
Good to see you.
Were you afraid that World War III was coming? The Iranians and the Israelis
I was just so sure it was
have
not
called
going
the truth.
I was so sure it was not going to get to me.
There's
anyway.
a ceasefire. And Trump has trumpeted it. You know, he wants to be seen to be behind everything.
All right.
And because of that, now you have the pump price of petrol.
No, it's going to come down. You know, Dangote started they were thinking that the Strait of Hormuz could actually be blocked by Iran. Remember that 20% of the world oil trade goes through the Strait of Hormuz, but that didn't happen. Yeah, even the $80 per barrel is going down. So we should all be happy about it.
And we hope that your predictions are actually true or right. Because, I mean, the fuel price at the moment, not smiling enough for those papers. We begin with the blueprint this morning. And, of course, I'd like to begin with the fuel price. It's at the top of the masthead of the blueprint this morning. It says the kicker is Middle East crisis. Fuel price hits 945 naira in Abuja, 915 naira in Lagos. And looking at the major headline here, it says FG rakes in 6.9 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025. NPA targets 1.28 trillion naira. Senate Lords Agency urges prudent expenditure. Above the masthead, 2 to die by hanging in Lagos for wedding day murder. That's on page 6. And FG launches 2,000 tractors for mechanized farming. Of course, that story is trending everywhere, and you know, a lot of people say that's a good one. Below the picture story, U.S. advisory: Abuja remains safe, secure. FG assures Iran hits U.S. military bases in Qatar, Iraq, and some other headlines below the front page of the blueprint this morning. We have Kogi Poly expels 6 for examination misconduct, withdraws 273. Details on page 10. And finally, we have right here, Tinubu Lord's Wike commissions 15-kilometer Pi Road. Details on page 6. So that's about it on the front page of the blueprint.
Okay, you don't have the People's Daily. Okay, look, let me take this, then you can take the People's Daily. Now, I have the leadership newspaper. I have Hunger, Poverty, Catalyst for Insecurity in Nigeria, NSA, CDS. NNPC raises petrol pump prices in Abuja and Lagos. Then we have Iran-Israel war, increased airfare, flight cancellation suspensions loom. Flights from Nigeria face disruptions as Qatar closes airspace. Federal government files fresh cybercrime charge against Senator Natasha. Details of that story can be found on page 9. 2027, ex-Tinubu's aide, Baba Ahmed, observes cracks, slams coalition. No time for new party, Babachi Lawal will unite under one political party, El Rufai. The government hijacked Benue links bus, abduct all passengers. Details on page 18. Flutterwave power business growth in Cameroon with fully licensed payment services. Details on page 26. Constituency project, source of legislative corruption, Agora policy. Details on page 9. 19-year-old Nigerian unveils app to disrupt global chat space. Details of that story can be found on page 9. And we have the front page picture of President Bola Tinubu, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, APC National Chairman, and Minister of State during the commissioning of the newly constructed road from A2 Junction, Abuja, to Lokoja, Pai, Kwali Area Council yesterday.
All right, just quickly take a look at the People's Daily before we get to Chooks. The lead story here is on security. It says gunmen abduct 12 passengers in Benue. Of course, that's on all the papers. And we have updates on Plateau killings. Lawmakers demand justice, security reforms. Of course, the U.S. advisory, Abuja is safe according to the federal government is also right here. I'll just look below the picture story of the People's Daily we have. We have taken over 1 million children off the streets. That's according to the governor of Borno State, Babagana Umar Zulum. PDP crisis festers as acting national chairman, the zone spokesperson's comments over INEC's letter. All right, suspected armed robbers kill 300 level varsity student in Niger. That's on page 7. And finally, we have right here, we are targeting 1.28 trillion naira revenue in 2025. That's according to the Nigerian Ports Authority. All right, Chikudi, it's over to you.
Yeah, the abduction of 12 passengers in Benue has become something that is a recurring decimal now. And it means that before some of us get on the road now to some areas in this country, we have to be very sure that it's a very important journey. It doesn't quite help your feeling of safety. I remember in those days, highway patrol vehicles were quite regular on the roads there. Yeah, very regular. Yeah, they're right. I would have thought that such patrols would intensify with the huge demands security makes on us, and that communication, which has been enhanced by GSM telephony and the rest of it, would have also helped in nipping these things in the bud. But it does seem that the criminal-minded managed to still get away with, perpetrating these road atrocities, highway atrocities. It's really unfortunate.
It's not just about road atrocities, Chukudi. It's about being safe everywhere in Nigeria at the moment. I mean, with all the reports we get to hear, Benue, Plateau, Borno, I mean, just name it. We just need to do something about security in general. Because, it just crossed my mind some days ago that I may not be from the Plateau, but I may have a friend who has a parent or a sibling living in the Plateau. So it touches all of us.
They are your fellow human beings.
Exactly. So security issues we should be taken seriously, from every angle, the subnationals, the federal government, I mean, all the security agencies. Whether you're on the road, whether you're sleeping in your house, whether you're on your farm or you're on your way to work, you should feel safe.
The eerie feeling it gives you is that sometimes one begins to contemplate that it is not just the criminals who are involved in this. Maybe some of the people we trust to look after us are part of the game. In fact, I mean, Zulum the other time told us that soldiers and politicians are partly behind what's happening in Borno. You understand?
Well,
so
actually, this issue of insecurity was discussed last week, and some of our guests actually talk extensively about the challenges, facing even the security personnel as well. So, I mean, it's something that we cannot shy away from. Government too is worried. Everybody is worried. And, well, we just keep praying. Just like you said, could be a spiritual, matter now that we have to pray.
No, don't laugh. We didn't come.
Pray about everything.
We didn't come here.
Pray about everything.
We didn't come here to get religious. Yes. We didn't come here to get religious. I think we've got an overload of religion out there. Yeah. So let's not bring it here. But the truth is that if you truly believe in divinity, sin does really come as a reproach to a nation.
Because the way
blood flows in this country freely, and you think you're going to go free spiritually. Let me stop there. This is not about religion, please. But I'm getting worried.
I'm worried as well. But anyway,
everybody's worried.
Thank you, Chooks. We have to call it.
Sure. But I'm very happy about the ceasefire.
All right.
In the Middle East.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll now take a break. Now the conversation will continue. That is on technical and vocational education. Stay with us.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring an impeccable personality with purposeful leadership.
Abba Abubakar Aliu, MD, CEO of Rural Electrification Agency, takes us through the gamut of activities and mandates of Rural Electrification Agency, as well as its achievements and dreams.
I really want to see that I leave a lasting legacy that can be spoken of in a very long period of time.
Welcome to a world of fun and excitement as we also present an assemblage of professionals in the media space. Some compelling NTA programs, current trends in the fashion world, ICT, sports, entertainment, and lots more.
Meet Professor Charles Anosike, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, as he shares his vision in repositioning NIMET as a key player in Nigeria's climate strategy.
Get a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
The Nigeria Coat of Arms is the official seal that represents the authority of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, hung on the wall behind the seat of the principal officer of the government, supported by the portrait of the serving president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It has 7 features. The black shield stands for Good Earth of Nigeria. The silver wavy band stands for the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue. The 2 white horses stands for dignity. The yellow flora is a common wildflower throughout Nigeria. The red eagle stands for strength. The wreath is in our national colors of green, white, green. The motto, unity and faith, peace and progress, is written on a beautiful yellow ribbon, and it's a maxim for all Nigerians. Be a real Nigerian.
Anything in front of the camera,
you're there.
I'm hosting a TV show. I could take your job.
Like yeah.
Just saying.
You see, that your niqab.
Just saying.
I will finish and you won't stand for you.
By night, I do brand influencing. So if you need a face for your brand.
Wait, which brand are you influencing in the night?
We'll get back to it.
Okay. Powerhouse family. Just friends family. It's time for us to play. Name a place a group of girlfriends might go for a fun night out. Clap! Clap! Survey says.
Sarah loves food, but she does not eat too much.
I know that feeling. Your stomach says,
no.
Name something a woman might likely need when she's acting moody.
Money.
Money!
Food. Attention. Love making.
You look like you are speaking from experience. Survey says.
NTA Television College Jos, you will dive into exhilarating hands that will fuel your passion in education and propel your career to new heights. We don't just teach, we craft the next generation of media leaders. Explore our diverse offering, understanding the personnel matters and issues in the public service, basic development communication, financial reporting under IPSAS, and interpretation of public sector accounting standard IPSAS, audit, internal check and control management, video camera maintenance, new technologies, optics, fiber, IP technologies, automation, storage management, and wireless technology. Challenges and opportunities in the secretarial profession in the digital age. Digital marketing, basic drama, online reporting, understanding the provisions of the revised public service, audio engineering operations and maintenance, camera operations, and intermediate drama. Mark your calendar. The second quarter of 2025 is your launch pad. This is your moment to seize the future. Announcer Management.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. And just before we bring in our guests for our conversation on technical and vocational education in Nigeria, let's take this background report, which is actually an excerpt from the last conversation we had on vocational and technical education. And this has been put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Education is on the concurrent list. This intervention from the federal government should be supported by, more intervention from the states, so that our state colleges of, technical colleges should also be re-engineered, revived. When you enter them at the moment, they are, they're in very terribly dilapidated condition. So that's why people are not interested in going there. The materials required for training, not available. The power requirements, not available. A lot of challenges. So states should please come on board.
That government is investing heavily in technical education. That is the way to go. When you look at it, you must face the fact that the white-collar job is no longer, there. And it's like a pyramid, as I've always said. It's the higher, you go, the thinner it becomes. So what will definitely take out of the woods is to really invest in technical education. Because that is, where you have the jobs, where, the demand, is.
To ensure transparency across the entire initiative. And because we're actually trying to incentivize these people to come for these trainings, what we did was your NIN has to directly match your BVN. So 2 names on the NIN will have to match 2 names on the BVN. If not, you will not be able to fully register. And I think there's a message that comes up immediately after that to say that you can go and verify your NIN or at least, yes, or your BVN. But that's the main reason why there's that BVN NIN issue when registering on the portal.
Thanks, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for that background report on technical and vocational education in Nigeria, TVET. Seated already in the studio for our conversation this morning is Professor Idris Mohammed Bugaje. Is the Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education, NBTE. We had him last week, Wednesday. Prof, you're welcome once again.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. Also joining us here is Dr. Musmed Aminu Mohammed. He's the Registrar, NAB, TEB, NAPTEB. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right. Thank you.
All right, also joining us for the conversation, but not right here in the studio, but from Kaduna, is engineer Abdul Audu, FNSA. He's the senior lecturer and director, Entrepreneurship Development Center, Kaduna Polytechnic, Kaduna. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Professor, my boss, and good morning, my brother, Dr. Muhammad.
All right, so let's just begin our conversation this morning with Prof. Last week we looked at the challenges, that has bedeviled the technical and vocational education in Nigeria. Maybe we can just have a recap again. What actually led to the collapse of Nigeria's once thriving technical education? Let's just have a recap of what happened.
Well, what led to the collapse of TVET in the past 4 or 5 decades was basically, the oil boom. When the oil boom came in the 70s, everybody abandoned, fundamental areas like TVET. Everybody was rushing for the black gold. And universities' degrees were seen as the best for everybody. Where Nigeria could import anything they wanted, including skilled workers, even to run the oil and gas business. That's number one. Secondly, you see, the Nigerian psyche also changed. People were valuing more of the white-collar jobs than the blue-collar jobs. And so this also made parents to prefer that. And then thirdly, governments were not interested in investing more into TVET. And that's why when you go to a technical college, you face what they call the broken window syndrome. The gate is damaged. When you enter, the buildings are dilapidated, the roofs are leaking, the equipment are archaic. Nobody would like to go to that environment to learn, however attractive it may be. So for that reason, all these factors culminated in the total neglect of TVET, to the extent that the total number of technical colleges was just 129 against over 15,000 senior secondary schools in this country. So for that reason, a lot of TVET therefore went into the drains. But we are happy this government has made TVET the fourth pillar of their agenda. And with the new Minister of Education, TVET is having a lease of life. TVET is now being revived. TVET is giving its appropriate position in the scheme of things. And we are very hopeful that in the next coming years, TVET, the fortunes of TVET in Nigeria shall be turned around.
All right. Many thanks, Professor Bugaje. I didn't quite hear you mention the fact that those who have technical and vocational education in Nigeria are not as well paid.
Yes.
I mean, when they eventually are done with training, get into a paid employment, they usually look down on, not properly incentivized like other people who go to universities and all of that, as being one of the reasons why some people are drifting towards university education instead of technical education. But let's get to Dr. Mohammed now. Listening to Professor Bugaje speak, of course, I watched him in the last episode, very passionate and very optimistic that this new initiative would bring a turnaround. But, I mean, is anything different with this new policy with what was seen in the past?
Yeah, many things are different. I went through technical school. And the technical school I went in those days are not the present technical school we're having. And there are structures in technical education in TVET that are not there today. We have what we call trade center, vocational center, and technical colleges. Today, there's only technical colleges. Where are the trade center and where are the vocational center? This would form a complete TVET. That at the graduation of any of these trades, you already have a skill. You can be set up on your own, or you can be employed by the industry. I can remember vividly when during the technical school in those days, getting to the period of vacations, industry, textile industries, they are approaching the technical school if their student can do some vacation job with them. Now, along the line, those structures collapse. In supporting what the Prophet said, those structures collapse. If you go to technical school today, you weep. Presently, the NAPTEP, we are writing our examination nationwide. And I have selected some schools in each geopolitical zone. I found myself in some technical school. I was not happy, but there's nothing I can do. Now, with the government, what this government is doing, this government is returning us back to trade center, vocational center, and technical colleges. That is the TVET. That's my understanding of the TVET. Because in the trade center, you can spend 1 year, you can spend 6 months to get a trade. And in technical school, you spend up to 6 years, 5 years to acquire the knowledge that is needed. And what this government is doing, one part of it that is different, we could see clearly the commitment on the part of the government under the President Renewed Hope agenda. We could see clearly the interest, the passion of the Honorable Minister of Education in driving this. You know, Prof know, I know, that in any developing country, and this class of category of artisans, craftsmen, technicians are missing, I assure you that that country will not develop. As it is today in Nigeria, the only way for us to go is to go towards the TVET initiative.
Dr. Mohammed, from what you have said, I'm wondering why, I mean, the number of years you have mentioned, quite long. Why would you think that someone who wants to get a vocational skill will want to go to these schools and spend, like you have said, 6 years, 4 years, when you can just go to the roadside welding shop or a mechanic workshop in 1 year, you are done, learning the skill? Why would I want to spend that long time learning a skill?
You need to do that because to acquire this knowledge, there must be a curriculum. There must be a workshop. Under this curriculum are captured into two parts. One part is the theory, the other part is the practical aspect. In this new initiative, before we have 60-40, along the line it becomes 70-30, you know, practical to theory. But the present arrangement under TVET is 80% practical and 20% theory. You need some reasonable time for you to truly learn. If you are learning electrical installation and maintenance, you must go through all the roadmap to understand what it takes.
Yeah.
And you need to be certified at the end of the day before you can practice. It is only in Nigeria here anybody practice. No, it is wrong. In elsewhere, if you want a technician to come to your house and rectify some things for you, you need to book. He must give you his own time, but not your own time. And you pay him heavily. So you need to acquire the necessary knowledge it required for you to enable you to attend to people's demand.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are three, let me add. There are three types of intervention under this initiative. There's Master 6, only 6 months. You go to a skills training center, even if you don't know anything. By the end of 6 months, you'll acquire a skill. And you'll get certified, either as a tiler, POP, finisher, whatever, or welder, or whatever, 25 trades. That is Master 6. There's Master 12. You go to a VEI, Vocational Enterprise Institution. You spend 12 months of rigorous training. You get an NSQ higher level than that of Master 6. Then there is the TVET system that is being supervised by Dr. Mohammed. The TVET 1, TVET 2, TVET 3, that takes 3 years, equivalent to SS1, SS2, SS3. Here you undergo the NAPTEP syllabi. MBT produces the curriculum, they convert it into syllabi. So you go through like a senior secondary level training. You get a qualification which will not only allow you to go into skills, but it will also allow you to go to higher education. So they have to spend 3 years. I'm sorry the time has to be that way, because some of them will end up into higher education. They do something that's equivalent to NECO and WAEC. Okay. They call it NAPTEP certificate. But for those other youth who just want to acquire a skill and they want to practice, they go to Master 6, 6 months, or Master 12, 12 months.
Okay.
And they'll be ready for the job.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof.
Yes.
For that explanation there. All right. We now bring in our other guest. Joining us via Zoom from Benin is engineer Dr. Sandra Agwebo, MFR. She's the first lady mechanic in Nigeria, National President, Lady Mechanic Association of Nigeria, National Treasurer, Amalgamated Union of Motor Mechanics and Technicians of Nigeria, and National Coordinator, Nigeria Skills Sector Council. Madam, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nigeria. And good morning to all wonderful ladies out there.
It's so good to have you, Dr. Agwebo, I mean, we've heard so much about you. You've been in this business for over a decade now. Can you just tell us, I mean, just as your opening remarks, what actually motivated you into this kind of profession despite the challenges?
It is a long story and I don't want to take too much of your time. Good morning, audience. My boss is there, MBTA. I have all the bosses in our automotive industry sitting right there. Good morning, sirs, from Edo State, Nigeria. He has already introduced me and I just want to go straight to the point. Being the first lady mechanic in Nigeria, I say to women and everybody out there, is not a bed of roses. You have to really be upright and doing for you to have this, study what I've been doing right inside the workshop since in the 80s. I've been a mechanic for 40 years and my workshop has been running for 31 years in Lagos State, Nigeria. And I've been able to empower, and I continue to empower and give employment to the girl child so that we can have gender equality in the workplace in Nigeria. Over 6,000 of them empowered in different areas of specialty, from brake change, oil change, vulcanizer, body work spraying, auto mechanics, auto diagnostics, a whole lot, detailing, upholstery. I started breaking it down for women because why? Men have been there from generation to generation fixing cars. I decided to break this yoke so that women, we can work side by side in the workplace with the men. In the auto industry, which is a vast one in Nigeria, around the world, I tell my women that as long as the manufacturers of motor vehicle continue to produce cars year in, year out, there will always be job for mechanics, for artisans there. Being the national treasurer of the Amalgamated Union of Motor Mechanics and Technicians of Nigeria, I am using that to draw a whole lot of women, be it school dropout, being housewife, being the commercial sex worker on the streets, be it the girl that lost hope, be it the housemaid. Every girl child, every young woman, young women can come into this and acquire skill from 6 months, from 3 months to 2 years. Of course, a woman can learn how to fix the brake pad and oil change for 3 months. It's so simple. I tell them even cooking in the kitchen is more difficult than you doing this. So I've been able to give them, the example, and we are all right there. There's no company in Nigeria, car companies in Nigeria that don't have the services of the Lady Mechanic Initiative trainees, now graduates, now staff of different multinational companies in Nigeria. And I've said to Nigeria out there that just being a mechanical student is not enough. Your white-collar job is not enough in the situation we find ourselves today, because government cannot do everything for us. You also have to help the government come up with ideas, come up with initiative. Then the government will be right there to support your ideas and your initiative. Because why? It is the practical work in the automotive industry that we have learned that when you are now employed in the company, that is what raises the bottom line of this company. It's not your certificate of mechanical engineering. Your practical work, just like my boss, they said there, you know what? It is very important that you learn the practical aspect of your mechanical engineering job. After school, go to the workshop, get the skill, because when you finish, when you want to get employment, nobody is looking at that. It means that you want to stay in the AC office. Staying in the AC office, I don't call you an engineer. You have to be on the field to do the hands-on. The hands-on is what I call the gold mine of every artisan in Nigeria. Why? Because when our hands are dirty, That dirty hands we have is our gold mine, like the way Nigeria, treasure their crude oil. Women out there, it is very important that we contribute our own quota to the economic development of Nigeria through our skill work, through the job of our hands. We are the mothers of the nation. So get it right and acquire a skill today. Thank you.
It's sounding beautiful. But I would like you to share with us the challenges that you have encountered. You've been in this field for a long time, so you should be able to share with us what the challenges are. And tell us, what are the major drawbacks for those who intend, to get into vocational or technical skills at the moment? Because, I mean, a lot of our youths are no longer interested in all of that. What are the drawbacks really at this time and age? Because I mean, you started in the 1980s when, of course, vocational and technical education was much appreciated.
Come again with your question, please. Can you hear me?
Dr. Agwebo, can you hear me? Did you get my question? All right, so my question to you, Dr. Agwebo, is share with us the challenges of being a lady mechanic. What are the challenges that you have faced in the last 30, 40 years? And what is limiting? All right. I hope that we can get back to Dr. Agwebo, but let's get to Kaduna now, where Engineer Abdul Audu is, joining us. He's a lecturer at the Kaduna Polytechnic, Kaduna. I'd like you to share with us, Engineer Audu, the issues at the moment with vocational and technical education. Is it on the part of government, or is it the youths that are no longer interested in all of this? Or is it that we do not have the skilled manpower to actually give this TVET the force that it needs to take charge?
So on both sides, the government has put in place policies that are driven and well driven, especially by the National Board for Technical Education, for vocational and technical education to take root in Nigeria, or to build on what was there in the past. Just like the Prof said in the opening remarks and the last cap that was shown, a lot of technical colleges are visually no longer existing in Nigeria, in so many states. But you have federal government technical colleges, they are still running and doing well. But state governments have for long abandoned technical education. And the skilled manpower that hitherto drove technical education in Nigeria are beginning to phase out. They are retiring. So many are retired. And even those of us who are in it currently will soon start going away. So if something is not done, definitely there will be a very huge gap, and that will be very dangerous for the country. And that is where the current initiative of the government comes in, and it's going to save the day. However, on the side of the youths, we have a lot of problems. The quest for quick wealth is a big problem. Nobody wants to wait for the gestation period of any initiative before they start reaping the fruits of whatever it is planted therein. So the youth have to wake up. They have to accept that you need to learn, and you need to get certified, and you need to get the experience before you start reaping the benefits of whatever training you must have gotten into. So the two must come together. But like I said earlier, and like Dr. Mohammed said in his opening remarks, technical colleges, if you go to so many technical colleges, you cry if you are a technical person. And I know Prof understand what I'm talking about. So many things are just not there. But particularly my concentration is on the states. So many state governments do not care about technical colleges. And what some are doing now is like a window dressing to me. What are they doing? Setting up vocational training center is good. At least they are retrieving some aspects, some level of the society to come back to vocational and technical education. But that curriculum-based learning have to be reintroduced, and we have to survive. We have to ensure that it is reinvigorated so that youths can pick interest in what they do. If you go to so many plazas today in many cities in Nigeria, you see young men doing GSM repairs, some doing computer repairs, software design, and so on and so forth. All this they did on their own without any structured training. And like you had, for example, if you go to UK, one of the best paying jobs is plumbing work. So if you want to get a plumber in UK, you pay heavily, but he must be a certified plumber. Likewise, welding. I remember in your first question you asked about why going through the formal training when you can go to the roadside and get training. No, the training you get on the roadside is good, and we appreciate them for holding on while the rot lasted, but still it is not enough. For example, for a proper welding training, you can't spend just 6 months or even 1 year by the roadside and think that you have become a welder. There are different levels, different stages, different welding methods, and so on and so forth. As it is today, in the oil industry in Nigeria, many oil companies bring in welders from China, from the Philippines, and from India to come and work in the Nigerian oil and gas sector. Whereas we have many Nigerians roaming the street, and welders are well paid. But this is because over the years we have neglected, we came to neglect technical and vocational education. And in those days when we were in secondary schools, we were even envious of our colleagues who were in technical colleges because of what they could do with their hands. Who were only working on paper, they were working with their hands. And we were envious of them because when we come home during holidays, they do a lot of things. Those who are into woodwork will be building their furniture themselves. Those who are into welding will do a lot of things themselves. Those who are in automobile mechanics will go into workshops and be doing a lot of work. And companies were ready to take in students of technical colleges on vacation job because they can do a lot with their hands. And that kept youth away. Now that we are crying of insecurity, we are crying of hunger, we are crying of deprivation, if youth are properly engaged, if they are properly engaged and they can see that they can gain a lot from being engaged, nobody will go into crime. Very few will go into crime. So when you compare the crime rate in the 70s, in the 80s, and early 90s to the crime rate now, you can see where the problem started from. But unfortunately, so many of the people that are at the helm of affairs in so many states, and my cry is still with the states, because like I said, the federal government colleges, federal government technical colleges are running well. And I'm sure the prof will attest to what I'm saying. But states, they don't even care about the technical colleges at all. Dr. Mohammed just mentioned his school. And I know the school he went to, the technical college he went to. The last time I went to that school, I shed tears because it's in my local government. And it's a very, very terrible sight. You will not believe that somebody like this came from that school. Because the state governments have neglected the technical school and they are not ready to budget for it. But like I said, if they budget a fraction of some of the money that are leaking out to these technical colleges, a lot will be achieved. So the problem is on the part of both the youths and part of on the part of government. And by government here, I'm still concentrating on the states, because there are 3 levels of government and education is on the concurrent list in Nigeria. So definitely the state must also up their game for us to be able to revive and ensure that the nation is up when it comes to vocational and technical education. And industrialization that we are crying about, we will never get there if we don't get the good hands. Engineering is a pyramid. We have the artisans, the craftsmen, the technicians, the technologists, then the engineers. There's no how an engineer will tell you that he can do everything. No, you need everybody in the family to be able to achieve whatever we want to achieve technologically. So if whatever we design today as engineers, We need the craftsmen in the workshop to do some work. We need the technicians to do some work. We need the technologists to run the labs. And all these are technically based knowledge levels that we need to produce en masse. China is what it is today because they were able to understand what vocational education is. So we need to start doing something. We have already started, but we need to continue. And the National Board for Technical Education needs support. Needs support. Support from the government and support from corporate bodies in their corporate social responsibilities. They need to come in because whatever government is budgeting for them is still not enough. For example, even to go on accreditation is a huge task for the board. Likewise, NAPTEP, to conduct exam all over the country, is not a small task. So if we are really serious, like the present government is trying to do about vocational and technical education, then we must get committed to it, and everybody must come on board to support it. We, the teachers, must be ready to be as practical and as possible. We must also be ready to renew our knowledge, the knowledge base, because what is being done before is not the same way it is being done today. Even though engineering always have a basis, Newton's law remains Newton's law. Zeroth law of thermodynamics remains zeroth law of thermodynamics. But we keep on developing new things, and we must catch up. So if we stay doing the old way, doing things the old way we used to do in Nigeria, we will still not move on or move ahead to achieve what we want to achieve. So we, the teachers, must also always be ready to do continuous training and continuous education so that we can give to the young ones what they desire in the classes and in the laboratories and workshops. It's not everything is not about the chalkboard or the pen board and the desk. We must get to the basics and use our hands to ensure that the youth learn a lot and achieve a lot from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer. I'll do for your opening remarks there. Just like you have noted, the guests also here have noted the various challenges that are bedeviling the technical and vocational sector in Nigeria. That is the replacement of skills. That is the drive for quick wealth by the youths. The situation in technical colleges. Nonchalant attitude, especially in the states government, no structural training, and also the need, just like you said, the need for also the teachers to update, their knowledge. Prof, we're looking at how to, bring back, how to promote, especially the interest of the youth now in technical and vocational education. Because I remembered in my secondary school days, I went to Mayflower School, and we had some training, technical training. We had carpentry society, electrical society, plumbing, and all that in schools, in schools then. So what is happening now? Is the board actually working with the Ministry of Education in order to inject such training in the curriculum, especially at the secondary school level, as part of, method to promote the interest of the youth?
Well, there are so many challenges, as you have observed, but one way to, to mobilize youth for TVET training is to incentivize it, and that's what the government is doing now by bringing support to students, stipends monthly, payment of the examination and certification, payment to the master craftspersons, and payment of the tuition fees. So this is one way of doing it. Secondly, there is need to have sustainable funding, because the government is now taking money from TET fund, giving it to NEL fund for this project. There is need for a more sustainable funding for TVET. We have always talked about the National Skills Fund. There is need for the federal government to establish the National Skills Fund so that it can fund TVET training. We have to also move like China has done. 2017, China converted 600 universities into polytechnics. So we also have to start doing something in that direction. Not the universities, but even the conventional secondary schools. We need to start converting them into technical colleges by providing the necessary equipment.
or workshops, labs, etc., for them to learn those trades. And then there is also need for us even to sensitize the parents, because there's this attitude, very negative one, on TVET across the the whole country. TVET pays more than those who go through the non-TVET systems. Go to Europe. We have given examples. They pay them much, much higher. But what we need to do is in Nigeria is let us try to standardize. Let us try to issue licenses like they are doing overseas. The informal sector is doing a lot of contribution. But we are now making efforts to formalize the informal. All these roadside practices, the MBT is driving the RPL agenda. RPL stands for Recognition of Prior Learning. I mean, those who have learned through the artisans way in the roads, on the roadside, we have a scheme whereby we will make an assessment of what competences they have. Those competences that they are lacking, they can now make them up, and then they will be given Nigerian Skills Qualification Certificate. With that certificate, whatever level it is, if it's level 3, now they can go for training for level 4. And then with that NSQ, they can get an operational license. We cannot allow, the roadside to continue the way they have been operating in the last several decades. Many countries have made efforts. They have formalized the roadside, and Nigeria is also trying to do that. This is also going to support TVET. The importance of helping the roadside and formalizing them is because in TVET training, there is a component that you have to do on the job. If you train as a welder or as a carpenter, whatever training you do in the college or in the VEI or in the skills training center, you must come and practice it on the job, and your assessment will be on the job. If you look for industries,
most of the roadsides are more practical.
More practical. Now, in the absence of big industries across the country, because most industries across the country have collapsed, except in the Lagos, Ogun State. That's the only corridor where you have industries. That's the only corridor where you can send students for proper on-the-job training. So outside that corridor, we are recommending let us use the informal sector. I mean, the roadside sector. They are very practical oriented, and they have the skills. So we can take some of these TVET trainees to that informal sector. But the master craftspersons that are going to train them, we are also having a program of upgrading them and certifying them. In the portal, the registration in the portal, there is a section for the master craftsperson. The master craftsperson is also going to get some emoluments which will be paid to him for training those young people. So there is a real agenda now to formalize the informal through RPL, through other methods. And this is also going to support the TVET training, because TVET has to be on the job. You can't just do it in the class or in the workshop. You have to bring them on the job. And even the assessment itself is done on the job.
Professor Bugaje,
yes, please.
Listening to you, I'm trying to understand what the difference will be,
yes,
from a roadside learner and someone who has gone to these technical colleges. Yes. Because from what you have said, those who go to the technical colleges will still go on the roadside to practice what they have learned in the colleges, meaning there's no difference.
No, there is.
Because, you go to the technical colleges, yes, you go on the roadside to practicalize what you have done. What's yes. the difference?
Well, the difference is, you see, in the labs and workshops in your technical college, they teach you the theories, you also practice. But it is very important also to do that practice on the job. Somebody, you learn automobile in the classroom. Now they will bring you a real life situation. You learn construction skills. They take you to a live construction site. And then you can see how other artisans are also practicing, and they will teach you how to also practice properly. You will practice, and if there's any correction, they will correct you. So the two have to go in synergy. We can't do skills training entirely in the college.
The world is evolving. Things are changing. If you're talking about teaching people in technical colleges on paper and then going on the roadside to learn practical, I was thinking you're going to tell me that you're going to be using technology in the classes. You're going to be using, a lot of advanced
virtual reality,
exactly, AI and all of that. Such that someone who has gone to a vocational school is above in knowledge and in skill to those who are on the roadside. So help me make sense of this, really.
I get your point. There are technologies that you can use. Take welding. That's what we call augmented reality. We allow, by MBTE policy, you can use augmented reality to teach 70% of the curricula on augmented reality. Under augmented reality, is not actual physical welding, but the equipment are there. You put on a Google on your eyes, and you'll be able to see like a welding workshop. You'll be practicing. If you make mistakes, it will take note of it. At the end of your practice, it will tell you where you have made mistakes so that you can improve. But 30% must be done on the real job. Because when you finish your training, when the oil companies engage you, you are going to work not in a virtual world. You will work in a real world. So in that case, you must have hands-on practical training on the job. The reason why we are using the informal sector in most parts of the country is because the formal industries are not available. Take Kaduna, take Kano. If you go to Kano, all those industries have closed down. Kaduna, all the textiles mills and other industries have closed down. If you go to other cities in the country, they have all closed down due to lack of electricity.
So when we have so many graduates from technical education, where are they likely going to work?
Well, they have to set up on their own. If I learn construction skills, I can go and give service in construction sites. If I learn welding, I can put up a shop. So the training is not only for them to take up jobs in industry, it's for them to become entrepreneurs. So that's another component which is very important. So they can work and set up on their own.
To be self-employed.
They can employ others. So that is the whole purpose. We hope Nigeria's industrialization will soon pick up by the time government provides electricity. That is the main bottleneck to Nigeria's industrialization. Everybody has been saying it. Look at the kind of power supply in the country, 5,000 megawatts against 230 million people. Divide 5,000 megawatts by 230 million, you get only 22 watts. Dismally low.
Okay.
South Africa, they have 270. Egypt, 400. Europe, 1,000 per capita. Nigeria can't industrialize that way. We hope this government will do something on electricity supply. But before that is done, we can't wait. We have to use the informal sector. And we are using this opportunity to formalize the informal sector. The master craftspersons are today being given NSQ certificates, recognized even in the federal scheme of service. So master craftspersons are being upgraded, the informal sector is being formalized, and their training is also, we're introducing quality assurance. So even the informal sector is benefiting from this intervention. So we have to just do with what is available. I mean, if the industries, formal ones are not there, we have to use the informal.
Anyway, most of these informal sectors, they have association that they control their members. Probably you're working with those associations for quality control. For quality control. And just to buttress what you have just said, about a month ago, one of these graduates read physics. They were supposed to fix this inverter in one of the houses near my neighbor, and I asked the guy, you're a graduate? He said, yes. So what are you doing? I said, I have to learn from these artisans because they know better. I want to see how he's doing it. That's why I have to follow him. So I now understand what you are saying, because they have learned in the classroom, but they don't have the practical knowledge of what they are supposed to do, which is very good. Dr. Mohammed, because there's so much discrimination, and I guess that is why most of the youths are so disinterested in technical and vocational education. How do we breach that gap? How do we correct that, that discrimination against technical and vocational education in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. The problem is for the government to take a decisive decision. It's only in Nigeria that we value paper qualification. It is the right time for Nigeria to devalue paper qualification. Because in other parts of the world, people are interested, what can you contribute? What will you bring to the table? It's not your professorship paper, doctor, masters. No. What can you contribute to the society? Until the government come out with a clear policy that what can you contribute to the economy, to our GDP, that is the only time I believe that this discrimination will be over. Secondly, either you went through university or through polytechnic, I assure you that all this depends on the government. If you are talking about contributing to GDP, somebody from Polytechnic, maybe from technical school, Polytechnic, either HND, OND, HND, will be more productive in industry than somebody with BSc in engineering. So to me, we need to do away with that disparity between HND holders and degree holders. In fact, Prof have just said something. If you travel out of this country, there are some polytechnic or technical colleges that offer a qualification either from secondary school, first degree in technical education. Why are we limiting ourselves? And another point here again is that it's only in Nigeria that people believe you can use your paper qualification to be whoever you want to be. No. In other parts of the world, people don't believe in your paper qualification. The most important thing, what can you offer? Or what can you contribute to the national economy? Like to us in NAPTEP, we were set up to conduct exam to technical, vocational, and business study at all senior secondary school level.
Okay.
And at this point, any of the graduates can go for engineering technology, agricultural science, applied science, and any other field of endeavor. And it is also within our purview. You can be trained even for 4 months, even for 6 months, even for 6 years. You need to be certified. Who certified you? Is the duty of NAPTEP, National Board for Technical Examination Board, to certify it. And are these any category? As Prof have said earlier, yes, the MBT manage, produce a curricula that they use to teach in all these technical school and vocational centers. Now, it is the duty of NAPTEP to convert this syllabus, this curriculum to syllabus, to enable us to set examination for the assessment of graduates from technical colleges, vocational centers, and those studying business studies. And at the end of the day, any certificate issued by NAPTEP can be used anywhere in the world in terms of skill.
Okay.
And what TVET is doing now, we have category of people participating in TVET. It was resolved that MBT will do the necessary arrangement of the curricula, how the teaching will go, both in theory and practical, because they have also segmented it, 80% practical, 20% theory, and it's part of what is trying to tell us that teaching in the classroom alone, using simulation, using any other mean in the class is not enough. Yes, in engineering these days, simulations become the order of the day, and CNC machine. You can program anything you want to program. Another 1 hour, it can give you 1 million of this cup within 1 hour, because they are precise. But the issue now is that in actual world, what is it? How is it happening? And that's why we need to work with the roadside technicians, artisans, in order to work with us, because the industry are no more. And what this government is doing, bringing a little bit different to TVET, is bringing a motivation to the youth by giving them stipends at the end of every month. And again, the training period under TVET is free. It's free. And these are, you now see clearly the number of youth going into this program are high. I'll give you an example. It is also the responsibility of NAPTEP to conduct national common entrance into federal technical colleges or technical colleges in Nigeria whether private, whether state, whether federal. But before now, we'll be having just only 7,000, 4,000. But because of this present initiative of TVET, we had 29,260 candidates apply for that exam.
Okay. Many thanks, Dr. Mohammed. I'd like to get to Engineer Audu now. Fantastic points have been made right here in the studio. But Engineer Audu, I would like to ask you, you are in a polytechnic. Why were polytechnics set up in the first place? You know, speak to us about what the mandate of polytechnics are. Because at the moment we're hearing, you know, the fact that polytechnics are no longer into practicals they're now, you know, trying to be like universities and all of that. I mean, the same kind of courses or training we're talking about in technical education, vocational education are also available in polytechnics. Do you think that trying to revive technical education is the way to go? Knowing that our polytechnics are down in terms of practicals and, you know, churning out graduates who, you know, have hands-on training on, you know, whatever it is they have gone there to study. Is this the right initiative, really? Shouldn't we just formalize the roadside technicians and then get our polytechnics up and running? Would that bridge this technical gap? Or you think reviving technical and vocational education at the basics, you know, like what has been advocated, is the way forward?
Yes, I'm in the Polytechnic, and it will interest you to know that Prof was a lecturer in Kaduna Polytechnic and a rector of Kaduna Polytechnic. Dr. Mohammed there was the Dean of Student Affairs in Kaduna Polytechnic, and I'm from Kaduna Polytechnic. So you have Kaduna Polytechnic talking to you from both ends. Well, that is on a lighter note. Seriously, Polytechnic, the mandate of the Polytechnic is to ensure that the industrial base, because in the 60s to 70s, the builders of Nigeria recognized the importance of industrialization. And industries were coming up, but we needed manpower to keep these industries running, both at the operational level, maintenance level, and so on and so forth. And for every level, there should be adequate manpower. But to get this manpower training, you needed strong and formal trained personnel. In the polytechnics in those days, apart from the normal diploma, national diploma and HND courses, you have certificate courses in various trades. For example, in mechanical engineering, when I came to the Polytechnic in 1982 as a student, we have automobile mechanics course, we have automobile technicians course, we have mechanical engineering technicians course. So those are certificate courses. Some are even sandwich courses that people come during holidays to run. When the students of the Polytechnic have gone on holidays, the informal people come in to run these sandwich courses so that they can also get the understanding. Then you ask questions. Let me try in a very quick manner to address your questions. You said the informal sector, we should forget and face the informal sector, the roadside, if people can still come back to the roadside. No. There is the how and the why. The person on the roadside knows how he is doing what he's doing, but in most cases, he doesn't know why he is doing it that way. But the person in the class, the person who is taken to the class through the formal training, also is told how it is done, and he knows why it should be done that way. That is one. And it is not entirely correct to say that the polytechnics are down practically. No. The polytechnic where I am, and indeed many other polytechnics, have a lot of practicals. It's just that at a point there was proliferation of polytechnics, and people can start running polytechnics for 5-10 years without any engineering course. All you have are diploma courses in the business areas and even some administrative areas. That was where the deviation started. And even up till now, you will discover that the population in the engineering campus is not up to the population you have in the business campuses. It's still the part of our focus on paper qualification that Dr. Mohammed was talking about, and what everybody is looking at, the white-collar job. But the blue-collar job pays more and develops better than the white-collar job. But we cannot jettison these people who are by the roadside. And some of the people you see by the roadside, they didn't just start from the roadside. Some of them were, like in Kaduna here, so many of them were in the textile industries, and so many other industries that have closed shop. After the industries closed shop, where next should they go? They have to set up their own workshops by the roadsides, in some clusters, and so on and so forth. Recently there was, I think it's still running, Prof will correct me if I'm wrong, the IDEAS program. IDEAS program is a World Bank backed program, Nigerian government backed program that is helping to train the master craftspersons. That even if somebody is running a workshop, like he's a carpenter or a welder by the roadside, he is going to be assisted to be trained for him to have the required certification needed for him to engage in the training of others. So the training he has been giving to his apprentices before, he will do it better than what he was doing before, because he's been backed by the National Skills Qualification Framework, which is again run by the National Board for Technical Education. So we cannot abandon the two. The two must run together, and they must seamlessly synergize so that they can help in the development initiative of Nigeria. Like I said, will it not, okay, for example, let me give you an example in welding. At least at the point when we were training welders using the PTDF and the rest in Kaduna, we have a very big welding training center. Nigeria had only about 650 qualified and certified welders. I know you will not, you understand it. You say, what about all the welders around? Even in Kaduna here alone, you can get up to 600 welders by the roadside. But that is not enough. And that was why companies had to start going to bring welders from India, from Philippines, from China. But now, like I mentioned PTDF, that training was organized by PTDF to train youths. The AKK pipeline program project that is ongoing had to also engage in training youths from the contiguous areas around the pipeline, all the way from Ajakuta up to Kano. Young people from those states have to be gathered to be trained as part of the project, because by the time the Filipinos and the Indians that you brought to do the welding go, and the pipelines are programmed, who is going to repair the pipelines? You need to train the young people. But this training, again, is still structured, even though it's not in the formalized classroom. There was a curriculum, a training manual produced, which is used to train these people. So we have craftspersons, you have master craftspersons, you have apprentices, all of them come together to be trained. So the polytechnics still need to be there, because we are talking of reviving the technical colleges. If the technical colleges are revived, who teaches the youths in the students in the technical colleges? You must produce manpower that will go back down there to teach them, so that the flow can continue. If there is no flow, which is why we are discussing what we are discussing now, because a gap was there, a gap was developed by the neglect for the technical colleges. Very few, everybody went to secondary school, and when they want to fill form for admission, out of every 15 forms or 20 forms that you receive seeking for admission, about 15 are seeking for admission in business administration, accountancy, public admin, and whatever. In the polytechnics, only about 5 will come to you requesting for studies in engineering technology. And this is because at the basic level, technical and vocational education was neglected. So from secondary school, for example, in my part of the state, or where I come from, my senatorial zone, there were 4 okay, 3 beautiful technical colleges. Today, only one is the only one hanging on titters, and it was even a craft school in those days. So it's surviving because of the legacy of the craft school status that it had then, before it became a technical college. All the other technical colleges are dead. One has even been converted to a secondary school. So what then will be the motivation for the young people? When Ajaokuta Steel Complex was being built, many graduates of those technical colleges were the ones who moved there to start work. And many of them are still there. Some have retired today. Some are still going out elsewhere to set up their own workshops and continue with what they learned from secondary school. So we cannot drop one and continue with the other. The two levels, the different levels must go together. Like I told you earlier on, engineering is a family, a pyramid. Artisans, which are the people you train at the basic level, craftsmen from technical school, technicians from diploma, technologists from HND, and then engineers from university. These people must work together. No.
Thank you very much, Engineer Audu. Sorry, we have to cut you there because we need to take a break now. When we come back from break, we have a lot of questions and comments from our viewers, and also would also want to bring in Dr. Ogwebo, who has not spoken for a while now. So we'll take a break now. When we come back, the conversation will continue. Stay with us.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
The business environment, to be honest with you, has been extremely hard on most Nigerian women's businesses, and of course harsh for a number of reasons. There is no way you would increase or move subsidy and increase the price of fuel that it doesn't have the counter effect. It has been very challenging for so many women. I know that a lot of them have cried in one way or the other to us to find ways of intervening. But that is not to say that it is all doom and gloom. We will still have a few percentage of women that are thriving in this economy, but we hope that we'll be able to get a larger percentage. One of the things I've seen with even our local purchases now is that people are buying more made in Nigerian options of food, of clothing, and so on and so forth than the imported. So that again is helping some of our industries thrive. Surprisingly, the telecommunications is still doing well, and the reason is very simple. A lot of people are going for online options of skills in terms of training, communications, even remote working. And so you will see that people that provide services around those areas also thrive. But I think at the end of the day, it's about partnerships, collaboration, and influencing power from especially the private sector and even the public sector. But we really need the public sector to drive a number of things, especially policies, because the public sector has the national spread above even whatever we can do in our own small way. What has happened over the years is that even the government, for example, is being pulled from different angles by all these stakeholders. We need to harness ourselves to have strategic focus areas, and we should all be moving in the same direction, not using a competitive approach, but a collaborative approach. Secondly, in collaboration, we need to move with large clusters of decision makers. Instead of, the process of reaching out to individuals is painstakingly long and it takes time. And so we need to engage these stakeholders on a larger platform. I think it's very important to identify where you can get help in your own little way. And one of the things I've realized is that when you operate in silo, it is difficult for you to lift yourself out of the situation. Identify ways you can do what you are doing in a simpler way. And if what you are doing is no more profitable, why not find out what can you do in the meantime that will help you? You need to think outside the box and then connect. What you can do is also identify people and become a cluster to provide a service that ordinarily you cannot do alone.
Okay, you're welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And our conversation is still on technical and vocational education in Nigeria. Before we went on break, I know that my colleague, Yere, you wanted to ask Dr. Gwebo some questions. Maybe you can just ask her.
Yes, I'll be glad if Dr. Gwebo can hear me now. I wanted to find out from you what the challenges were as at that time and what you think the limitations are for young people these days. Why it's no longer interesting, you know, it's no longer a motivation for them to go into technical and vocational training.
Thank you for that question. I believe that it is high time the agencies in charge of TVET, the technical and vocational education, they start promoting inclusive vocational education and training that meets, with the demand of the labor market. In that sense, it means that they have to, partner a lot with the private sector to make sure they are doing well in their various endeavors. Now, I'll take it to the practical parts of talking for millions of artisans in Nigeria, being the national treasurer of the Amalgamated Union of Motor Mechanics and Technicians of Nigeria. What does that mean? It means that we have been granted and approved by the federal government of Nigeria to have a trade union for all artisans and skilled workers in Nigeria. So as I stand here, I'm talking on behalf of millions of artisans about our challenges and why you can see a lot of youth are falling out of TVET or training or falling out of running their own workshop and to become very successful in what they're doing. Today, being the first lady mechanic in Nigeria, I've gone through a lot of challenges. Even in what I do, working or training the artisans on different skills is not enough. The government of Nigeria have to play their own part. It's not when you train, you leave them, but you don't follow up. Following up in the sense that a lot of artisans, they don't have workshop. They don't have a garage where they can, do their various job or what they would have practiced. And now, in return, encouraging other youth to be trained and join them in their workplace of work. They don't have that. A whole lot of time you see that they are acquiring or they are, setting up their own workshop in government lands, in the sense that they don't have money to be able to get a land, maybe in Lagos or wherever they find themselves to start working. That is why you see that a lot of time people say, oh, the artisans are meant for dropout. The artisans, they are like people that does not have brain. They don't know what they are doing. It's a dirty job. It's not attracting anybody. No. I keep preaching to young Nigerians out there, both the youth corpers, that when you even go to the university you are talking about, you come out, you don't find any job. Why don't you, get a skill? When you get a skill, you'll be able to do a whole lot and promote what you have gone to school to learn. The federal government of Nigeria should look into this as an urgent, as a matter of urgency. Why? Because a whole lot of time, the artisans, they need a place of their own to work. The government of Nigeria have mortgage bank. We have Bank of Industry. Why are these people not, looking at the areas where the artisans have their problems? Which are these problems and challenges? When you finish training, when you want to set up your own workshop, you don't have a place to set up a workshop. Can they start building workshops nationwide for artisans the way they do, of course, for housing? I hear at times the federal government of Nigeria, they are building, mortgage houses in different states so that civil servants, they can have homes. Do that for artisans. And you see that the more you do this for us, we are going to have a whole lot of our own part contributing to the economic development of Nigeria. One, we import a lot of spare parts into this country. They import a lot of engine oil in different viscosity into this country. Who are the people using it? The technicians, the artisans, the skilled workers. I will tell you, without the artisans, the parts seller bringing parts, containers of spare parts into the country, they can never sell. Without the artisans.
Okay, Dr. Aguebo, sorry we have to interject you there because we have a lot of questions and comments from our viewers, and which we want you and other guests to respond to. We do sincerely understand your passion, and I believe that government, the officials, are listening to all your views there. Now, let's just take these comments. This one is from Engineer Umoyang from Jos. It said, "Good morning, Nigerians. Over the years, our actions and inactions have greatly eroded technical and vocational training in Nigeria. Technological advancement depends on the country's deliberate effort and constant review of our technical curriculum to meet today's reality. Let's stop sitting on the fence. God bless Nigeria." Now, this one is from Engineer Akeju Olagbaju. It says, "I think our policy makers in education are getting it wrong to believe that technical and vocational education and training is for a particular level. It is for all levels, beginning from primary to tertiary levels, and should be promoted. To get a better advantage, the internship has to be properly managed and well integrated to boost the practical skill. Perhaps a tax relief should be granted to companies taking on interns as a form of encouragement." Well, I guess the government is listening. This is from Uzo Andowa. It said, "Good morning. Is it normal that graduates of engineering go for TVET?" Is asking that question. Maybe you respond to that later. Then this last one says, "Good morning to everyone in the studio. Thank you for this interesting topic this morning. Unfortunately, I think the disparity between the BSc and HND holders is a deliberate thing, and it boils down to the fact that we don't know what structure means in Nigeria. Even when we know, we chose to do it our way to the detriment of others. I'm HND holder, and believe me, each time I have the need to use the result, I feel that I totally wasted my 5 years. That is including my 1 year IT, which should have been 4 years if I studied in the university. It's so disheartening. Why not award BA to HND students? Why not formalize it as equivalent to BSc? Do you know that an HND result that takes a typical Nigerian student to back is an equivalent of a diploma of 2 years outside Nigeria? Too bad. In fact, I cannot express my dissatisfaction as a Polytechnic graduate. My regards to your guests from Kaduna Polytechnic. I graduated from Kaduna Polytechnic and I'm proud of the lecturers there. Okay, that's Engineer Audu. All right, thank you. This is from Maria. All right.
All right, we have some more questions here. I guess we should just read all the questions so you can deal with them in case they're
similar.
Okay. This one says, good morning, studio. I'm happy that we are having this conversation. Good morning, guests in the house. NAPTEP should be as relevant as universities. Please, NAPTEP work with partners in... Please, NAPTEP should work with partners in the private sector. This one says, good morning, Nigeria, from Musa Abubakar. Why is solar panels production excluded from the technical and vocational training services, but only solar PV installation and maintenance? Thank you. This one says, good morning, please, how do I get a certificate as a roadside heavy-duty mechanic? I need certificate that covers international and local practice. Good morning, please, for the TVET program, those coming from outside the school, are they going to learn in the same classroom with the students freshly coming from GSS 3? That's Ogbona Jacob from Oyo. Igbodo Ofulwe from Asaba. The bottom line here is the government must review or do away with the pseudo approaches of setting up only one skills center by creating technical and vocational institutions with viable and resourceful curriculum relevant to industrial base and national development. Just take two more. Good morning, Nigeria. Polytechnic students are good, but not allowed to cross to directorate level, thereby limiting their advancement in career progression, which is frustrating. Finally, this one says the artisans' placement in government offices is the reason youths don't go for vocational schools. Go to vocational schools. BSc that just graduated has more power in government than HND that has worked for 5 years. To make it worse, the HND needs another 1 year to spend before going for masters and will drop one step during conversion. Very irritating.
Very frustrating.
So many questions, really. I don't know whether we can answer them.
Okay, yes, no, attempt to answer the ones.
So that I can, and then Dr. can.
All right.
So number one, this issue of dichotomy, if I may start with that one, it's a very unfortunate scenario in this country. And the solution is we have proposed, and there's a bill now to end the HND. After national diploma, that is candidate qualification for technician. And those who want to go higher will go for Bachelor of Technology honors.
Okay.
It shall be a degree to be awarded based on learning, character, and skills. It's going to be different from the university degrees. South Africa is already implementing that.
So would that be another 4 years?
No.
Or would it be another 2 years?
Another 2 years.
Okay.
But then they will end up with the BTech honors to replace the HND, because all efforts have been made to remove the dichotomy. Nigeria has refused to accept that. So the solution is end the HND. South Africa is doing that. Ghana is doing that. That's the solution. That's number one. Secondly, those who finish polytechnics, we have now introduced mandatory skills qualification. Even if you are doing if you are doing public admin, you cannot graduate now without a qualification on a particular skill. It can be welding, it can be electrical installation, it can be tiling, it can be any skill of your passion. Passion is very important in skills training, because that's what motivates you to go for the training. We have introduced MSQ, and from this session, every student must come out with a skills qualification, NSQ. Now, on the road side, what we call the informal sector, MBT is making efforts to streamline them. Engineer Abdul has mentioned about the training of master craftspersons. Yes, that has taken place under ideas, even though not so many were covered. But we are at the moment trying to give them RPL. Okay. As I speak now, we have rolled out the RPL. Almost 1,000 master craftspersons shall be given certification based on recognition of prior learning. We had to bring experts from Mauritius, from Kenya. They trained our assessors here on RPL assessment, and now we are rolling it out. Okay. So almost 1,000 shall be certified. Now, on the issue of solar, somebody mentioned about solar cells, PV cells, production. Nigeria does not produce PV cells. At the moment, we import every PV cell. We have the raw materials. The raw materials is ordinary sand, silica, SiO2. So all you need to do is you remove the oxygen, make it pure silica. Then you cannot dope it. On one side, produce wafers first. And then when you produce the wafers, you can dope it.
with germanium.
So why are we not training people just so we can begin to produce?
Simply because we do not have any industry. You only have, installation. So if you train, when you're doing the training, I've told you, you have to take the trainees to an industry to learn on the job. It's a high-tech area. The technology needed for processors of computers, that's the technology needed to produce PV cells. We are not saying we shall not get there one day. Maybe in the future we shall introduce that. But at the moment, no industry produces PV cells. We only import from China, from other countries. Sometimes we assemble them and then we do the installation. So that is the challenge. But in the future, if there are industries, we are ready to roll out.
Okay.
We have also identified other skill areas that are very critical, and all these have been captured under that 35 or 25 skills for the Tibet initiative.
All right, Dr.
Thank you very much. For NATEP to achieve its core mandate, it must work with the professional bodies. And about a month ago, within NAPTEP and National Board for Technical Education, we have signed an agreement with all the professional bodies in this country, because we felt that is the way to go. And that is the dream of the present Minister of Education. And you cannot talk about the TVET, the implementation of TVET and the sustainability, without having all the professionals on board.
Okay.
As we speak, we are working with us, and having them, Prof has already explained what government is supposed to do and what they are supposed to do. We have already, it is already on a paper, government have signed and they have signed. Every professional body in Nigeria know the role it's supposed to play in this TVET initiative. All training done from anywhere, either at the artisan level, craftsmen, technician, at the end of the day, by the present arrangement under this Honorable Minister of Education, NAPTEP will assess and certify it. Certification is very, very important, because you can't practice if you are not certified. Yes, you can be on the roadside working, good and fine. But again, the law says that you must be certified.
Again, the law says you must be certified.
So how do we do away
number two,
Dr. Mohammed.
Number two, just a minute, please. Number two, the issue of solar installation. The only thing we can do now in Nigeria is the solar installation and maintenance.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. We have to interject you there because we are running out of time. And let's just quickly get to Dr. Agwebo so that we can have your parting shots. You have excelled so much, especially in the male-dominated profession. What advice would you have for the young ones there, especially the women, the ladies, the girls?
Thank you very much. My advice to them would be they should not limit themselves to, to social vices and allow themselves to be used as a tool by the opposite sex for what they think the gain is out there on the street at night. There is no gain. For me, today, in Benin City, Edo State, we are going to have a CNG training, organized by NADDC in collaboration with the Edo State government of Nigeria and the Lady Mechanic Initiative to empower and train 50 mechanics in CNG training, so that women do not start thinking that their cooking gas in the kitchen is like the CNG gas you have to buy for your vehicle to scare them off. I am here to continue to empower them, to continue to bring the goodness and the goodies in the automotive industry, why they have to make their hands dirty in the workshop, the benefits
Because of time, we would have to pause you at this point. We do appreciate all that you're doing. Let's get to Engineer Audu now. Your final thoughts as we round off the conversation.
Prof has said a lot, and it's because of him that I deliberately left out some areas. Like he talked about the mandatory skills qualification that we are doing now in the school. Here, for example, here in Kaduna Polytechnic, we have already started the implementation process. If you are in a diploma class in, let's say, public admin, you can decide to take welding. And even in my class, for example, in my classes presently, there are some of my students that are already roadside mechanics. Some are tailors already outside, but they come to school, so they divide their time. Now, with this new MSQ program, they can now seize this opportunity to get certified by NAPTEP. Now they already have a certificate they have a certification, not certificate, now they have a certification in welding or in auto mechanic or in tailoring. Then they have their certificate, higher national diploma certificate. So they are holding two things out of school. Then on the side of entrepreneurship, what we do is that we don't stop students from anything that is their passion. You choose your passion. For example, we have about 22 skills that we rolled out, and they come for the practical skill acquisition every Saturday for 4 hours. And you must choose that the moment you are in ND2 and HND2. This ND1, sorry, and HND1, you choose a trade which you pick. And something as simple as cap washing and cap making is a skill that we have given to students to take. Lele that ladies put on their hands is a skill. Generator repairs. For example, the skill person, the master skill person, training my students now on generator repairs is a lady. And she's my student in HND class because she's already a mechanic before coming for HND. And
sorry, we have to just interject you there. Engineer Abdul Audu, lecturer and director, Entrepreneurship Development Center, Kaduna Polytechnic. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. Also, we want to thank from Benin via Zoom, Engineer Dr. Sandra Aguebo, First Lady Mechanic in Nigeria, National President, Lady Mechanic Association of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Not leaving out Prof. Thank you so much. Professor Idris Mohammed Bugaje, Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And also Dr. Mohammed Aminu Mohammed, Registrar NAPTEP. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks for being part of it. I am Ademola Ade. Do have a lovely day.
And I'm Henry John. Remain tuned to the NTA.